Gentlemen, Smithtown Planning Board is in session. Would you rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. We thank you. Please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The first item on the agenda, the Planning Department recommends the following items for adjournment as we have insufficient information to act upon them. Part 2, Item 3, number 2010-09, RNF Management. Item 4, number 2010-06, KVC Holdings. Item 5, number 2010-02, King Cullen Grocery. Item 6, number 2007-01, Gyrodine Company of America. Item 7, number 2007-04, Society of St. Johnlin. Item 8, number 2009-05, FB4 Realty. Part 3, Item 9, number 1053A, Berg Estates. Item 10, number 911A, Glen Hill Northern. Part 4, Item 11, number TC10-01, T-Mobile Northeast. Item 12, number TC11-01, T-Mobile Northeast. Mr. Chairman, before I'm finished reading the adjourned list, I just wanted the board members to know that there is a memorandum in your packets. It's the second to last page in your packet regarding why TC11-01 was adjourned. I'd like to read it to the board quickly before we pass the resolution. The applicant for the above referenced special exception application informed us that they did not mail the certified letters to property owners prior to the hearing. Therefore, the Planning Department is recommending adjournment of this case. That concludes the adjourned item list, Mr. Chairman.
Do we need a motion there to accept that adjournment?
No.
Okay. We have, if there's no objection there to the people that are in attendance tonight, first of all, is there anybody here to be heard on those items to be adjourned? Hearing none, a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the items read.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered. If there's no objection there to the councils there and the audience, we have one performance bond to be heard tonight, and then we can get on with the agenda. Is there any objections to going off of the agenda schedule and going to the performance bond? Hearing none, please, would you read the performance bond?
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda would be under Part 5, Item 13, number 1013, Hamlet Estates, Section 1. Mr. Chairman, before I read the memorandum, I'd like the board to be aware that I did speak with the applicant, Mr. Spirio, prior to the meeting beginning. When he filled out his performance bond extension application, he mistakenly requested a one-year extension to September 14th, 2011. He would like to make a request for a two-year extension to September 14th, 2012. If the board has no objections, I would like to read the memorandum into the record using the date of September 14th, 2012. All righty. The applicant...
Anybody wish to speak on that? You acceptable there? Count? Anybody on the board has a statement?
No, not as to that amendment. No problem. If you could read it that way.
A motion there to approve the performance bond.
You're going to read it? He's got to read the resolution.
Okay.
Just read the resolution? Okay.
If you want to read the whole thing, you can. I mean, we just want to read the resolution.
Read the resolution.
Just read the resolution.
All righty. The performance, the Planning Department offers the following resolution for the board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves retroactive extensions of the performance bond for the subdivision known as Hamlet at St. James, Section 1, number 1013, for two-year periods from September 14th, 2006 to September 14th, 2008, and September 14th, 2008 to September 14th, 2010, and for a two-year period from September 14th, 2010 to September 14th, 2012. Mr. Chairman, this is the Planning Department's recommendation for Hamlet Estates at St. James, Section 1.
Motion? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Richard Spirio. I'm with the Hamlet Estates at St. James. First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking us at the head of the pack. I appreciate that. And second, I'd like to thank for the amendment. That was just an oversight. And as far as the recommendation of the staff is concerned, we're very much in agreement and would ask that the board approve the resolution as amended.
We thank you. Members of the board, anyone in the audience? A motion.
In the matter of performance bond extensions for Hamlet Estates at St. James, Section 1, number 1013, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the Planning Department.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Thank you again. I appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome.
Okay. Have a good night.
Yeah, I
So the guys have to sit around.
I thought he read the resolution.
It just makes more sense to do it that way too, let it go out,
Yeah, true.
rather than having to wait all the whole time.
Yep, yep.
Takes a few minutes.
You're right.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda, under Part 1, Item 1, number 1133A, Oakwood Valley Estates. The applicant is requesting final approval to subdivide a .94-acre parcel into two single-family residential lots. The board previously approved this application on November 4th, 2009, and the town board accepted cash in lieu of a performance bond on September 23rd, 2010. Planning board approval expired on November 4th, 2010, because the applicant could not file the map due to Suffolk County Health Department delays. The site is entirely surrounded by properties owned R10, single-family residential, 10,000 square feet, and used for single-family residences. The final map of Oakwood Valley Estates number 1133A is comprised from one tax lot that is rectangular in shape. There is an existing 1.5-story dwelling on Lot 1, and one new dwelling is proposed on Lot number 2. The property is a corner parcel and has 85 feet of road frontage on Alexander Avenue and 482 feet of road frontage on Maggie Court. While the proposal meets the lot area requirements for the R10 zoning district, variances will be required for Lot number 1 for a front yard setback from 40 feet to 13 feet for an existing detached garage and from 40 feet to 3 feet for an existing deck. While this variance request seems excessive, there is a large public right-of-way along Maggie Court that mitigates the appearance of a largely reduced front yard. Lot number 2 will require variances to reduce the front yard setback from 40 feet to 17 feet and reduce the rear yard setback from 50 feet to 30 feet for a proposed two-story dwelling. These variances can be granted by the board per section 322-30.4 of the Town Code, and they will appear in a table of modifications on the final map to be filed with the Suffolk County Clerk. The elevation ranges from 99 feet to 103 feet above sea level. The depth to groundwater is more than 10 feet, and no problems are anticipated with regard to groundwater. The site does not contain any wetland or natural surface water features. The property is wooded with trees such as birch, maple, and cedar. The proposal appears to comply with the standards of the Suffolk County Sanitary Code with respect to sewage flow and septic system setbacks. The Engineering, Highway, and Traffic Safety Departments recommend approval. The Planning Department recommends approval. The following resolution is recommended for Oakwood Valley Estates number 1133A from the Department of Environment and Waterways pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Town of Smithtown hereby declares itself lead agency on this matter and finds that this matter is subject to State Environmental Quality Review Act and is classified as an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA. And be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Town of Smithtown does hereby issue a secret negative declaration. Determination of non-significance and environmental impact statement is not necessary in the matter of the application for subdivision approval by PSM Long Island Corp. For Oakwood Valley Estates number 1133A for the following reasons. A, the proposal does not appear to significantly threaten any unique or highly valuable environmental or cultural resources as identified in or regulated by the Environmental Conservation Law of the State of New York or the Smithtown Town Code. B, the parcel does not appear to suffer from any severe environmental development constraints, no poor soil properties, no high groundwater, and no unmanageable slopes. C, The small size and nature of the proposal mitigate against a significant adverse impact upon the environment. D, the proposal appears to be consistent with the planned use of the parcel and compatible with neighboring land use. E, the project as proposed on the tree preservation and land clearing plan proposed by Elizabeth G. McQuilkin, licensed land surveyor, and dated September 2nd, 2009, provides for the retention of existing trees and natural vegetation upon development of the subject parcel. And be it resolved that prior to the commencement of construction activities at the subject parcel, including land clearing or other site preparation work, the applicant is subject to the following conditions. 1, the following trees to be preserved must be enclosed by snow fencing or orange mesh construction fencing. A, on the south side of the proposed residence, lot number 2, the 16-inch diameter pine, 4-inch diameter pine, 12-inch diameter oak, and 6-inch diameter pine near the property line. B, to the east of the proposed driveway on lot number 2, the 10-inch diameter pine and 2 5-inch diameter cedars, which are mislabeled as spruce on the tree preservation and land clearing plan. Said fencing shall be located no closer to the trunk of any tree to be preserved than the drip line of said tree. 2, upon completion of the installation of fencing as required above, the applicant shall provide written notice to the Department of Environment and Waterways requesting inspection of the limits of clearing around these trees as marked in the field by the cited fencing and ribbons. 3, the applicant shall not commence construction activities including land clearing or other site preparation work until the marked limits of clearing are approved in writing by the Environmental Protection Director. And 4, the snow fencing or orange mesh construction fencing used to delineate the limits of clearing and the tree preservation shall be maintained in place by the applicant until the completion of all land clearing and grading activities at the subject parcel. The Planning Department recommends approval of this final map and offers the following resolution for the board's consideration. Be it resolved that the final plat of Oakwood Valley Estates, number 1133A, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions. Mr. Chairman, conditions A through L are standard conditions that are placed on all subdivision applications. And be it further resolved that the chairman of the planning board is hereby authorized to sign the final plat, thereby approving said plat after the town board has posted a performance bond of satisfactory form and amount. And be it further resolved that the conditional approval of said plat shall expire 180 days after the date of this resolution, within 90 days after the chairman of the planning board signs the final maps of this plat, unless said plat shall have been duly filed or recorded by the owner in the office of the Suffolk County Clerk. If the board favorably considers the applicant's variance request, the Planning Department suggests the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Town of Smithtown hereby modifies the building zone ordinance of the Code of the Town of Smithtown for the subdivision known as Map of Oakwood Valley Estates, number 1133A, as detailed in the table of modifications below. This table shall appear on the map to be filed in the office of the Suffolk County Clerk. Mr. Chairman, this is the Planning Department's recommendation for Oakwood Valley Estates, number 1133A.
Thank you. Is there anyone here representing the applicant? Would you come to the microphone and give your name and address, please?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Friend. I'm from Matthew Friend. I'm from Inspire Design Group. I represent Oakwood Valley Estates. As was said, the application before you this evening is for 2-lot subdivision of a 1-acre parcel into 2 half-acre parcels. This site is located on the northeast corner of Alexander Avenue and Maggie Court in Wisconsin. This subdivision was previously approved as Oakwood Valley Estates, case number 1133, on November 5th, 2009. 2 extensions were filed and expired in November 2010. The reason for the expiration was due to the need to upgrade the septic system on the existing residence, which is to remain. There was also a need to file a cross easement for a water line across town property, as indicated on the subdivision map. This cross easement required a town board approval, which caused the subdivision to expire. This is why we are now here before you with the identical application. If you have any questions, then I would be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience that wishes comments on this? Members of the board? Any comments? Motion for the secret negative.
In the matter of Oakwood Valley Estates, number 1133A, motion to approve the secret negative declaration as recommended by the Planning Department.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. On the final map,
In the matter of Oakwood Valley Estates, number 1133A, motion to adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendations of the Planning Department.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. On the, on the building zone recommendations.
In the matter of Oakwood Valley Estates, number 1133A, motion to approve the variances as listed in the table of modifications.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Thank you for your time.
We thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda under Part 2, Item 2, number 2010-10, Edward and Patricia Martella, special exception zone change petition to change the zone from WSA and R21 to PB. The planning, I'm sorry, which is professional business, my mistake. The Planning Board will conduct a public hearing on February 16th, 2011, to consider the above-referenced petition for a change of zone from WSI Wholesale Service Industry and R21 Residential 21,000 square feet to PB Professional Business to convert a dwelling to first-floor office space with second-floor accessory apartments. The site is a .35-acre nearly rectangular parcel developed with a house, a garage, and a shed, and a small asphalt parking lot. The petitioner requests a change of zone from WSI and R21 to PB and proposes to convert a dwelling to first-floor office space with second-floor accessory apartments and to convert a cottage on the premise back to a detached garage. This should be considered as a request to amend the comprehensive plan. We note that the petition contains an error in that it identifies the site as being entirely zoned WSI. Actually, there is a small section along the northern boundary of the lot that is zoned R21. That is, the lot is actually split zoned, with the single-family residential portion being approximately 1,222 square feet, or just under 8% of the entire lot. The subject site is part of an extended area along both sides of Middle Country Road, zoned for neighborhood business uses at the inception of zoning in 1932. By 1956, it had become apparent that such strip commercial zoning along a main corridor did not work well, and much of the business zone along this section of Middle Country Road, including the subject site, was rezoned to G1 Industrial, now designated WSI. The areas to the north and south of the WSI district along Middle Country Road have been zoned for residential uses since 1932. Much of this section of Middle Country Road is devoted to automotive sales and service uses, with a few other uses that require outdoor storage. The subject site is one lot north of Middle Country Road and fronts on Lake Avenue. It appears to have been constructed as a single-family residence. It is being used as a multifamily dwelling, and the associated garage is being used as a separate dwelling. These uses are not in compliance with the WSI zoning and may also not conform to the Suffolk County Health Department requirements for wastewater flow rates. Properties to the west and east are zoned WSI and developed as a filling station and a lumberyard, respectively. To the north are single-family homes in R21 zoning. Immediately south of the site is an automotive service business in WSI zoning. The board will want to consider whether the requested PB zoning will be compatible with the uses in the adjacent residential and industrial zoning, whether the requested zoning could set a precedent for other rezoning requests in similar locations, and whether there is potential for the proposed zoning to affect traffic circulation. If the zoning were to be approved, adequate parking would have to be provided on-site for all permitted uses. Additionally, the board should be aware that the approval of the requested zoning category would not guarantee that the proposal uses would be permitted by the Suffolk County Health Department. According to the Building Zone Ordinance, Section 322-7C1, The PB district regulations are intended to encourage low-intensity office development of single-family residence character compatibility mixed with one- and two-family residential uses, principally for areas in which a similar pattern of use has occurred or for areas where an office residential pattern is appropriate between central business districts and residential neighborhoods. Similarly, PB zoning can be effective as a transition between other businesses or industrial districts and a residential district, although, as reflected in Section 322(7)(c)(1), PB is primarily expected to be a transition from downtown business areas. The board will want to determine whether, at the subject site, the uses permitted in PB zoning would be suitable neighbors for both the industrial zoning to the south and east and to the residential zoning to the north. The board will also want to consider whether approval would set a precedent for similar rezoning requests along this corridor, and if so, if that could have a negative effect on the WSI uses located along Middle Country Road. The board will want to determine how much demand there will be for PB zoning in such potential transition areas, and whether an increase in PB zoning immediately adjacent is compatible with the intent of WSI corridor. In 2003, when the town board approved the change of zone from WSI to PB on Franklin Drive, petition number 2002-04, 150 feet north of Middle Country Road, they limited the use to a single-family dwelling. For the subject site, it may be appropriate to consider whether restrictions to the uses are warranted. The board will also want to consider whether a PB office at this location could have a negative effect or positive effect on the circulation at the nearby intersection. The presence of the traffic signal at the corner of Lake Avenue and Middle Country Road aids motorists using that intersection, but it also suggests that there is already heavy use of the intersection. The board will want to determine whether the number of vehicles exiting and entering the site for a PB office use would significantly alter the circulation at the intersection in comparison to a WSI use. The petitioner is proposing that, under the requested PB zoning, the site would accommodate an office use on the ground floor and a residential unit on the second floor of the existing main structure. The site is approximately 15,465 square feet, just over a third of an acre. Based on preliminary calculations by the Department of Environment and Waterways, the site has a wastewater capacity of 213 gallons per day, according to Suffolk County Board of Health guidelines. Since a single apartment on one floor of the existing main structure would require wastewater capacity of at least 225 gallons per day, it is unlikely that the proposed combination of residential and office use will be permitted by the Department of Health. However, since office use of the entire main structure is likely to require no more than approximately 178 gallons per day, and the site can accommodate 213 gallons per day, office use alone may be permitted. Before any approval of this petition should be considered, the petitioner should obtain confirmation from the Board of Health that the specific proposed use or uses would meet the county guidelines. Along with the wastewater generation issues related to the proposed uses, required parking for the site will also depend on the uses. Residential uses would require 2 spaces per unit. Office use would require at least 12 spaces, and a combined use could require more. Since the petitioner provided only a survey drawing of the site as currently used, which is attached to your memorandum, the board may wish to request that the petitioner provide a more detailed plan showing how the required parking would be provided. Placement of parking, landscaping, and other site elements will affect how well the site can function as a transition use. The following response has been received from the Suffolk County Planning Commission. Pursuant to the requirements of sections A14-14 through 23 of the Suffolk County Administrative Code, the above referenced application, which has been submitted to the Suffolk County Planning Commission, is considered to be a matter for local determination, as there is no apparent significant county-wide or intercommunity impacts. A decision of local determination should not be construed as either an approval or disapproval. The Planning Department recommends that this application be the subject of an on-site inspection by the board. Mr. Chairman, this is the Planning Department's recommendation for the zone change petition number 2010-10, Edward and Patricia Martello.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent the applicant, I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Blaise Donadio. This is one of those situations where PB really fits the bill. And as Mr. Donadio indicated, it's a transitional zoning. It's a situation where you have residential on to the north, and you have WSI in the form of the repair garage on the corner of Lake and Middle Country Road. So, as he indicated also, it's split zoned, and I think most of it is WSI. Theoretically, another body shop or repair garage could go there, or this repair garage could extend into that property, and what you would have is certainly a more severe situation than you would if this board considered recommending favorably to the town board this professional business use. There is also, I'd like to remind the board, only recently, probably less than 6 months ago, well, probably longer for this board, but you recommended approval to the town board, which the town board ultimately granted on Town Line Road, the Har property, which is right behind Branchinelli's. And that was changed from, I believe it was residential to professional business. And we did that basically within the last 6 months. That was approved. Many years ago, we did the same type of thing on Harned Road. If you will recall, there's a I guess it's called, was the Shade Shop. Now it's just vacant. But right next to that was a building owned by Accurate Typing, which probably 20 years ago, when this ordinance first came out, when Frank DeRubius came up with this idea, which was really a good idea, we got one of the first professional business zones, and that was on Harned Road. So I don't know that the theory behind this type of zoning has to be in I believe he said, in the downtown districts. It's any place where you have a situation where you need a buffer between a residentially zoned parcel and a commercial parcel, and you're close enough to, in this case, Middle Country Road, Jericho Turnpike, to have a situation where if you recommend approval, you'll have a situation where you have a building that's supposed to look like a residential dwelling that can house offices and an apartment. There'll only be one apartment upstairs, and my understanding of the flow rates, which is another, it's not this board's purview, but I think the flow rate for an apartment is 150 gallons per day. I'm not positive that it may go according to size, and of course, office takes very little sewerage flow, and that would be our problem to make sure that we get proper approvals. But if you think about it, and you think about what's there now and what we could do, it would certainly be a lot worse to have a WSI use there than to have a PB use. Now, I know that the use there now is not a permitted use, and all I can say with respect to that is when my client bought it, he bought it from an individual that had done this conversion some time before that, and honestly, he just wasn't sophisticated enough to check and look at the records and see what was permitted there. I also, I believe that WSI zoning doesn't permit residential construction or residential use there. So if it stays that way and we don't have any other choice, we would have to do some WSI use, which I'm sure that the neighbors in the area would not like. not that it's a threat, but it's something where you have no other choice. To the east is the old Cider Lumberyard, which is zone WSI. And across the street is a service station in zone WSI, and of course to the north, it's zone residential. We think this is an appropriate application. It's the right type of application and the right type of zoning for this particular parcel because, again, it's transitional. It would act like a buffer between the residential zone to the north and also it's a buffer to the body shop repair garage, which is on the corner of Lake and Jericho Turnpike. So we think the application is a good one. The issues with respect to health department, that's something that we would have to deal with. And I think one way or another, even if we had to do development credits, we would make that happen. So we ask the board for its favorable consideration, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to be heard on this item? I have one question. I don't know about the rest of the board. Some years ago, wasn't there an accountant in that building on the ground floor? Do you know?
I don't know. It was...
There was an accountant, I know, in one of those two buildings right off of the corner.
Right,
And I don't know if it was that building or not, but it was an accountant, I know for sure.
yeah. The building was sold to my client. I have the... As I said, he was pretty naive when he bought it, and he bought it from an individual that knew what he was doing, I guess. In around 2002, it was purchased. So I don't know if there was an accountant there or not. It might have been the building next to it. It could have been an accountant, you know, a home professional at the time. I don't know.
Any members of the board, any questions?
Mr. Tramarko, if I get you right, I think the property is 92% WSI, so that what you're saying is that your intended use is more benign than what could legally go on 92% of that property right now.
Right.
And the other question I have is there's a and you may have addressed this, comment in a memo. Before any approval of the petition should be considered, the petitioner should obtain confirmation from the Board of Health as to the proposed use or uses meeting the guidelines. Do you have any problems with just going forward with the application and then, you know, the chips fall where they may as far as the
Absolutely.
county is concerned?
We know sooner or later we're going to have to go to the health department, and if it turns out that we don't have enough flow, then we'll have to buy some development rights from Frank's new development rights system that the town now participates in, which I think is a good thing.
So basically you have no qualms about going forward with this and then
No.
without checking first with the county as to
Right.
whether you would qualify or
I
wouldn't
have
qualify?
I have no qualms about that.
I just have a quick question. With the property having 8%, is it 8% WSI?
No, 8%
What?
residential.
It's 8% residential, I'm sorry. Could they then go ahead with a WSI use on the property, on the vast remainder of the property, even though it's partly zoned residential?
If you look at the map that's attached to it, the side yard requirements would be in the residential, so there's no reason to use that property either way. It makes no difference if that property is zoned WSI or not for the site design, because you're required to have a minimum of a 6-foot buffer on that particular side anyways, facing the residents.
I guess what I want to know is, if this application was denied, could they then move forward with a WSI use on this property?
They could do that right now,
They could, okay.
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions by the board? No questions? All right, we're going to do an on-site, counsel.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
A motion there for an on-site there for the application there for 2010-10.
In the matter of Edward and Patricia Martella, number 2010-10, I move that we adjourn the matter pending an on-site inspection by the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, the last item on the agenda under Part 6, Item 14, is the adoption of minutes for the January 19th, 2011 Planning Board meeting.
Motion to adopt the minutes of January the 19th, 2011.
I move that we adopt the minutes of January 19th, 2011.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?